How's it going, my friends? Back with another video today. After an exhausting weekend, Sarah and I just got back. We had 2 weddings this weekend, and we are almost capped off for the whole year. We have one more wedding in December, but that's basically it for the rest of the year. We do have engagement shoots and like 1 or 2 family things, but the wedding season has basically come to an end this year, and I am not gonna lie, it's been an exhausting last couple of months. Sarah and I, since basically August, we've had double weddings or triple weddings pretty much every single weekend, and tonight was last night was the last one, except for this one. It's a small wedding in December, which is one of Sarah's friends, so it's going to be, you know, kind of a little bit more laid back and easy. But we're basically at the end of wedding season now, and I just wanted to do a recap of my experience with the Z6 so far this year. Before I start that off, though, I wanted to give a shout out to the new donors. We had Roger Sauls and we have Rolf Walter. Thank you very much for your donations to the channel through Patreon and PayPal. Much appreciated, guys. So, yeah, I just wanted to go and do basically my thoughts. This has been a full year of a little bit longer than a year because we purchased our Z6s back when they first came out back in October, I think it was. But it's basically been a full year of shooting, you know, wedding photography, family photos, and engagement sessions with the Z6. And I just want to give you guys a recap of what I've learned over the years, and just like, you know, my thoughts on things that could be improved and the pros and things I've really enjoyed about the camera. So, over here, I have shot this year 317,016 photos. 317,016 photos on the Z6, okay? So I just want, the reason why I say that is I want you guys to know that I'm a resource when it comes to the Z6. Like, I have put it through the ringer in a professional setting and paid jobs over the year. So, like, you know, hundreds of thousands of photos. I've really been able to find out what works best, the stuff that needs improving, and just what type of camera it really is in the field overall. And I think that that is, man, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I would really want this source of information. So I'm going to go over it with you guys. First off, you guys know I love the cameras, okay? The Z6 camera has been an absolute joy to use. Overall, let's start with the pros, the things that I've loved about shooting it this year. The first thing is the ruggedness of this camera. We've put this through all different types of scenarios. We've had it shooting all through the summer where it was extremely, extremely hot all day long, shooting outside in the sun. We've had this thing in very cold, snowy conditions. We've had this thing in the rain, and I'm not talking sprinkles, I'm talking really, really raining on this camera. We've had this camera dropped, we've had this camera in our hands over and over again. We've had it thrown in the bags, we've had it on the dance floor swinging around, you know, off black rapid straps and neck straps. It's a very rugged camera, and that is one of, honestly, you know, maybe you guys wouldn't think this, but over the years, as I've been doing photography, you know, for clients and running around, especially weddings, high energy situations, ruggedness is so important. I came from the D850, guys. You know, D850, D810 were my last combos before I moved into mirrorless, and those cameras were absolutely rugged, and I would not have moved into the mirrorless system if they were not like that. You know, the Sonys definitely produce great autofocus, and they have a lot of pluses. The dynamic range is really good with those cameras, but they do not feel, when you hold a Z6 in your hand and you hold an A7R III, it kind of feels like a consumer product as opposed to the Z6. It's a very, very rugged, guys, and that is one of the main things that I was attracted to in the beginning. As soon as I hit my local camera store, I put that thing in my hand from the you know, first bat. I knew it was going to be something that would be durable. And Nikon has always really delivered in this area. You know, it's a camera company that does think about the professional photographers and the people that, you know, don't really, I guess I say I kind of baby my cameras because I do clean them very well after every single job. But you know, I do definitely, you can't help it when you're in dynamic situations like weddings or family shoots or things like that. Just the nature of it, it's very fast and you're throwing things around and things drop and fall and they're banging against you when you're moving. So the ruggedness is definitely there and it's on point. It's a pleasure to use overall. So the white balance. I have left every single shoot this whole year. I have left it on auto white balance, and it has done a phenomenal job. When I do contract out my editing for my wedding stuff, they do you know, color correct for different lights and things like that. But overall, the pictures look super good out of camera, and auto white balance does a great job. I mean, no auto white balance is going to be perfect. Obviously, more precise is choosing the white balance yourself or choosing your Kelvin setting. But the auto white balance is good enough just to leave it for the whole year, and I've shot in every single lighting condition, and it's done great. So the auto white balance is great. One thing I love is the dynamic area autofocus, guys. That in face tracking now has been becoming a big more since the last firmware update. But the dynamic area autofocus has been super consistent in producing great images, and for images that I know are going to be in focus. If you guys haven't read the manual, what it does is it basically takes a pinpoint in the middle, but then it has those smaller little dots on the outside in a bigger square. And so it's going to focus on the middle, but it also takes what's around it into account. So if your subject moves a little bit, it's going to kind of track that just a little bit. So it's going to take whatever it is in the middle and then kind of look around it as well and take that into account when it's autofocusing. It's a great mode, and I use that all the time, so I'm really happy with dynamic area autofocus. Pros, firmware updates, guys. When the Z6 first came out, there were people saying that Nikon was not going to release firmware updates, and I just could not believe it. I knew that they were going to, and they have. They've already updated twice, and they're going to update again, and hopefully they'll keep rolling them out. But so far, Nikon has been great. I feel like they have listened to what's been being said about the Z cameras, and they're trying to address those issues. So it's very simple to update these firmware. You know, when you actually do it, once they release it, it's very simple just to put it on a card and update it in your camera. And I love the fact that they're making big improvements on it. So, you know, the future looks bright, and these cameras definitely need firmware updates in the future. And you know, so far Nikon's delivered 2 in the first year. That's pretty good, I think. Lenses, the lens selection, you guys already know how I feel about the S lenses. They've been phenomenal to use. I've basically transitioned over them fully. I still haven't got my 24, so I'm still using the Sigma Art 24. But all the other lenses I use, unless I'm using the D700, are S lenses, and they're freaking great, guys. They really are. Same with the weatherproofing and all that. They stick on the Z camera very nicely. The balance is great, and overall they've just been a joy to use. Also, the face tracking, the autofocus is definitely better, noticeably better with the S lenses. The F mount lenses with the adapter, I'm not going to say it's bad, but you just feel when you put an S lens on the Z body, you know that it's supposed to be there, and they pair very well with each other. Another thing I love is with the bigger throat diameter, you can get in to clean the sensor a lot easier. I mean, it's so much easier to get in there and clean the sensor. Things are more open. It's very close to the opening. It's just much easier. I had a much tougher time with my DSLRs, and I was feeling like it was, you know, more of a pain in the butt when I was cleaning DSLR sensors rather than my Z. It's very easy. Open it up. It's right there. You can see everything, and it's super easy. And guys, I'm gonna do a separate video on cleaning your Z6 sensor, but don't be afraid to do it, guys. I mean, I'll do the video so you guys can see, but it's not, you obviously have to be very careful, but it's not like if you touch it just a little tiny bit, it's gonna screw up the whole sensor. I mean, there is a coat, a layer of glass over the you know, the actual sensor components and all that stuff. The sensor is actually layers, so it's not as delicate as you would think. I mean, there is IBIS in there and all that, so you want to be careful, but it's not as complicated and scary as you guys think. And cleaning the sensor on the Z6, I found, is honestly, I kind of like it. It's kind of fun. When I'm cleaning my gear, I kind of set it up on my table, put my headphones on, and I just kind of go into a mode and just, you know, it's kind of therapeutic or whatever. One thing I love about the Z6 is the shutter, okay? This is the quietest shutter that I've ever used in a camera. D700, you got, man, if you guys knew that, that thing was like a slap every single time that shutter, that you hit the shutter button, that mirror flipped up. It was like this slap, and it was like cringy to use that at a ceremony or something like that. So moved it on to the D850. It was a lot better and a lot more contained, but the Z6 is great. So if you're shooting in weddings like I do mostly, or shooting in other environments where the stealthiness or the quietness is a component to your shots, you're gonna love the Z6. It really, really does make a difference. So those are my like pros, just a pretty much, you know, overall pros, quick. This is stuff for stills. You know, I don't shoot a lot of video except for these YouTube videos with the Z6, so I don't have a lot of comments on it. If you guys do use the Z6 for video, you guys video heads, please drop it in the comments, because I know a lot of people following this channel are going to want to know about that stuff. So if you have video pros, stuff that you haven't seen before that is on the Z6, please drop them in the comments to help other people. So needs, okay guys? One thing that I really need Nikon to do, and if Nikon, if you're listening, man, I hope somebody from Nikon is listening. You guys could email this link to them, and maybe we could just like get a mass of people asking for this stuff, and they'll change it on the next firmware upgrade. We want a green confirmation in AFC, okay? So with AFS, single shot, you just, once something's in focus, that little box in the EVF or on the back of the screen turns green from red, so you know that it's in focus. We do not have that on AFC, and I want it so bad. Like, I just want to know, like when I'm face tracking somebody, or you know, if I hit the back button focus when a bride's walking down the aisle, I want to know that it grabbed it in focus. I do trust the AF system, but I want to see some visual representation on the screen that it is in focus, okay? So that can be done with a firmware upgrade. Please, Nikon, if you're listening, freaking update that. We need that, okay? Also, we need a separate button to activate face tracking. So if I'm in dynamic area autofocus, I don't want to have to roll through, hold down the button and roll through all my focus modes to get to face tracking. I want to basically just be able to activate it like with a push of a joystick or something like that, and have it jump into face tracking. So I can have both, like I can just basically use my two major focus modes, which are dynamic area and face tracking. So that would be a huge, huge improvement on a firmware update, Nikon, if you're listening. We do need some improvements in AFC, okay? I'm not gonna lie, guys, the autofocus is not the top of the line. I've never said that on this channel. It's definitely very good. I use the Z6 for weddings. I mean, those are very important moments that we need to catch, and there's no do-overs in weddings. I have had a successful year using it, but there is room for improvement, okay? I don't know what Nikon has in store for AFC and focus improvements or AF improvements or anything like that. I feel like they are listening and they're taking care of us, and the firmware updates are going to keep coming, but we do need some improvements in AFC. If you guys have not seen my last, like, it was like 3 videos ago where I showed you my autofocus settings, I have special settings in the camera that are going to definitely help you. They're not obvious settings, so go back and watch that video, and it'll show you exactly how I set my camera up to get a much higher hit rate. But still, AFC needs some improvement, guys. Focus assist beam. Okay, I don't know why this was so poorly managed. It just seems like they didn't think with this. We need to have some type of focus assist beam that works with different flashes, and you know, improves our low light focusing. I mean, in the dark when it's pitch black and I'm trying to focus on something, usually what I'll do is I'll have Sarah or myself, you know, we always have a mag light flashlight, and that's always gonna, you know, be there with us. We usually use that if we need to focus in, like, I'm talking near dark. I don't find that I need it on the dance floor. I mean, honestly, guys, I shoot a ton of dance floor photos and I get a lot of keepers, and my hit rate is very high still, but I have learned how to use the autofocus system. If you guys are going to buy a Z6 or Z7 and you just think it's going to work exactly like your DSLR, it's not. You need to learn the camera. It's a feel thing. It's an intuitive thing. It's something that you're going to need to, like, kind of throw away your old conceptions of autofocus with DSLRs and just move into it and actually learn how to work it. I promise you that it's a skill and you will get better over time. But yeah, the focus assist beam, I don't know what they did with that or what happened. So The other thing that I kind of have a gripe with is the grip material, this rubber. Overall, the actual grip part where it sits in your hands and all the way around the back, thumbs, top, all that stuff has been absolutely fine. Like I said, 317,016 photos so far this year, and everything else is fine except for where your hand goes in, your fingers go into the grip, like where those two function buttons are. The grip material is getting kind of like chewed up a little bit. I don't know why. I mean, I obviously use those two front buttons a lot, but it seems like a weak spot in it, and that rubber grip needs to be improved a little bit because it is getting kind of chewed up from a year of using it. I do use those two function buttons a lot. Has anybody else had the problem with this? I feel like it's not just me, but yeah, I feel like they need to kind of just maybe add an extra layer or something like that. Maybe improve the composite material that they're using and just make it a little bit more durable, because mine is kind of just peeling off and chipping in the front. Or not chipping, but kind of getting frayed. The material is getting a little bit frayed. The last thing for gripes that I have is banding. Banding is an issue with mirrorless cameras in general, but you know, the Z6 and Z7 are not immune to it. I've used the anti-flicker thing. You know, it does help in certain situations, but if you have crappy lights, guys, those real cheap ones, there's going to be banding if you're and I've found that turning off the electronic shutter and switching to all mechanical shutter definitely helps, but you have to play with your shutter speed and your ISO to kind of get around it. You really got to go, like, you know, I've found in certain lights like low shutter speeds help, you know, like around like 1/125th, 1/60th of a second, as long as your ISO is in a certain range. But basically, I have to, when there's artificial lights in the ceremonies or in spaces that I'm shooting, I always in there, and I see that there's banding, I have to play around with my settings for a little while to fix it. So I hope that they're gonna basically get some type of, like, you know, workaround for that, because that's one thing that is an issue with the Z6s. Exposing correctly, using flash, obviously those are very critical factors. If you underexpose images, I mean, you know, and try and just jack your ISO up, you're going to get banding. It's going to make it worse too. So, you know, that is an issue. Hopefully Nikon will fix. But overall, guys, this year has been an extraordinary year for Sarah and I in our business. The Z6 has made it more fun to shoot, has made our workflow more creative, it's made things more fun overall, and just carrying these things around has been a breeze, really. And it's such a welcome coming from those old school DSLRs where we're just carrying around a ton of gear, everything's a pain in the ass to use, it's heavy, you know, and moving into these Z systems has really been awesome. So overall, guys, I couldn't be happier with it. I'm going to keep pumping out different tips and tricks and things that I've learned, making this, you know, more useful for you guys. Any questions that you have, please let me know. And also, too, what do you guys think? Like, what other improvements? I'm sure I missed some things. You know, I know that there's a lot of the Z6, Z7 users in this community here. So whatever you guys think that should be improved, please drop in the comments, because I love, love, love the conversation that happens with you guys out there. I try and respond to everybody. Obviously, you know, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I miss some of the comments, but I really try and stay on there and make sure that I'm responding to all the questions and all the comments and keeping the conversation going. So you guys are great. You know, any other questions you guys have, let me know. And until the next video, guys.